All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro. Seawin also joining us in studio. Following the breaking news, UNLV football has hired a new coach in Marcus Arroyo. And you know what? What better person to have on the line than this guy, right? I've admired this guy growing up, watching him on SportsCenter, and we're very proud that he is a former UNLV football quarterback as well. Pretty big name in the media.
Making him feel young, Brian. With the, I grew up watching him. It's nice.
I did, though. It's true. He looks the same he looked 30 years ago. For ESPN SportsCenter anchor Kenny Mayne joining us on the line. Kenny, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Everything's good. I looked and felt younger a couple weeks ago. I think that's where we all bumped into each other. I was out there for the, God, what was it? Close to 40th reunion, whatever it was. It was the goodbye to the old stadium before they get to move to the new joint and have a new facility. Now apparently they have a new coach.
Yeah, I was going to say, Kenny, a lot has happened since you showed up here in Las Vegas a few weeks ago. So they fire head coach Tony Sanchez. I spoke
about a day after I left town. Nothing good.
Kenny, what did you say? What did you say to the athletic director? Are you responsible?
No, I was kind of like, I think one more year. But you know what? It's not my call. I'm not so close to the program that, obviously I follow it from a distance, and I wish everyone well always. But I'm not like in the neighborhood to know the interworkings of how everything's going on. So I think he tried. It didn't work to everyone's satisfaction for the number of wins to get competitive at the time period they hoped he would have. And so they went another way. It's tough business. So I don't think it's any, and it's no like, oh boy, he's terrible. It's no great, huge reflection on him. I think he'll find another job and have success elsewhere. But they decided they're moving on. So they needed to get somebody in, and looks like picking somebody out of Oregon football isn't a bad way to go.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that, Kenny. Do you know anything about this guy, Marcus Arroyo? Obviously an offensive coordinator there. He's been an assistant for about 16 years. He was at San Jose State, former San Jose State quarterback. What do you make of that, getting a guy from Oregon, even though he's never been a D1 head coach before? Do you like the hire? What's your initial reaction?
Well, if you're involved in a Pac-12 program at a high level, you probably, whether you were the head person or, the next in line, right? OCs are usually kind of like, the generals to the, whatever you want to call the coach. Oh, am I changing terms? The OCs to the coach. I guess that was the best analogy. But also, Oregon ruined my life, so I have a little thing against him right out of the gate. So, that's where, every time Neil Everett brings up Oregon, I say that. That's where I broke my leg back in college.
Let's go.
I'm willing to forgive if he can come on and do well for us.
Absolutely. I think we're all on board with that statement. If you're just joining us, SportsCenter anchor Kenny Mayne, former UNLV football quarterback. Okay, Ken, I got to ask you, back in the day, you're a 19, 20-year-old kid playing football at UNLV. Did you think one day you would be one of the most recognizable members of the media in the world? Did you ever think you'd get there?
No. I wanted to do news, and I wanted to be like working in these days. I'd be doing documentaries for Frontline, for PBS, or be like the Middle East correspondent. That was where I was inclined to go, because that's kind of like what all my studies were, and that's what my interest was.
That's interesting. I never knew that about you. So you wanted to be like a CNN anchor reporter type guy? That's what you wanted to do?
I like not necessarily there, but that's a generic example of what I wanted to be. Yeah. I think I gave more specific. Frontline's my favorite show on TV, the PBS show. If anybody knows what that is.
Yep.
And in fact, when I was just getting out of UNLV, that was my first job. Was I got $50 per story, and I did a little feature story for the topic of the week for Lee Winston's. I'm forgetting what the show was. It's like the show that's on at 3 p.m. on a Sunday. Yep. That show. And then they're talking about serious issues, and I would do the little field report that would set up the table discussion, and he was the moderator, Lee Winston. So my stories weren't very good. It would be painful to look back at them now, but it'd be pretty fun.
$50 a story. I heard a rumor that's what they were paying you at SportsCenter. Is that true? Like $50 a day? Is that true?
That was the first. The first contract was right around there, and then it's gotten better since, and plus some outside things here and there. But I spoke to the UNLV kids for a couple hours the day before the game, the goodbye to the old stadium,
right.
And I still call it Silver Bowl. And the number one thing that I pushed was just, being persistent, like finding that line between aggressiveness and obnoxiousness, where that line is, and try to be
Kenny, do you think that's what helped you in your career? Were you one of those people that you were persistent in getting this gig at ESPN? Obviously, you're extremely talented and you're very good at what you do. But as you know, in this business, that doesn't necessarily guarantee you a spot on SportsCenter. So is that what helped pave the way for you, being persistent? Do you have a story you could share with us where you just would not accept no for an answer?
Yeah, I mean, one of them is to get to UNLV. You could argue they made the right choice because I went to JC first, so did Sam King, and he ended up being the starter ahead of me. Larry Gentry was the start of the year, broke my leg while Sam redshirted. And I wanted to go there because I loved Coach Knapp, and I liked, the sound of going to Vegas and the feel and, seeing their film. It just sounded like that's where I was meant to be. And they picked Sam ahead of me and told me so. But they hinted, if you want to walk on, you still can. They thought I'd go to another school that was offering me a scholarship, but I turned those down because I had a feeling about that place, and mostly it was Coach Knapp, I would say, and his assistants around him. And so I ended up walking on, but I got a scholarship immediately, and ended up not playing all that much. But I still don't regret it. I wish I had played better. It's my only regret. But I love the experience. I love the relationships I was left with, and some of my real dear friends still are people I played with and people I knew from my times in Las Vegas. But for TV, I freelanced for ESPN for a bunch of years before. I just kept on. They would say go interview Ken Griffey, and I would write on the side, here's the story you could have had, like extra credit basically. And some people thought, like, who's this dork? Why is it? We didn't ask for that, And I was like, well, I'm going to prove myself to you. So finally, I sent him a letter that said, check the appropriate box. The first one said, stand by the mailbox, contract's on the way. The second one said, keep up the freelance work. And the third one said, we'll hire you about the time ESPN 5 hits the air. And
nice.
the middle box.
We're still waiting on that. We're still waiting on ESPN 5, aren't we? I think so.
We're close to it, aren't we? When you count up everything, we got SEC and Longhorn. It's past 5 now. But at the time, there was ESPN regular and there was ESPN 2.
The
and
Deuce.
They hired the people they hired. What happened was Keith Olbermann went from ESPN 2. Remember, he was out there with Susie Colbert, wore the leather jacket, that whole deal. It was 1993, 94. And he goes crazy and wants to go back to Dan Patrick and be on ESPN regular on SportsCenter again. Stuart Scott moves up to the bigger chair, at that show. It was called Sports Night. They needed one more person, and it was right about the time I sent that crazy letter, and I got hired a month later. So I don't know if that exactly did it, but no one denies that it had some influence. I've been interviewed like 3 times. They just didn't think I was enough of a sports nerd to be hired there full time. So they were stringing me along, and I finally just said, look, I still don't know who the hell the 5th pitcher on the Cubs is, and I really don't care. But if you tell me the story on the son of a bitch, it'll be a good story. And they hired me.
So, Kenny, I got to believe,
reasonable.
being a former Rebel, you have to have a healthy curiosity about what Las Vegas has become as far as a sports town. Obviously, when you were here, it was just all about UNLV running Rebel basketball, UNLV football, and maybe some, boxing matches here in town. Now, of course, it's involved into the Vegas Golden Knights. We're going to have the Las Vegas Raiders here next year. And, of course, all the possibilities regarding maybe the NBA and, of course, Major League Baseball coming. Now, I have to get your thoughts as far as, Las Vegas and how it's evolved as a sports city.
Well, I think you can parallel it to just the look of the place. When I was going to school there, we had these jobs we could have legally in the summer, right? Like I worked as a receiver of goods. I unloaded trucks at one of the casinos. And back then, the Las Vegas Strip was just like due north-south. I don't know if it was perfect north-south, but it was, right? There was the South Las Vegas Strip, and the north was toward town, and there was the casinos at the far end. Then you drove a little bit, and then you were at the downtown Golden Nugget and Binions and all that. And it was like a straight line. And now look at the offshoot roadways, and you barely know where you are when you come to town. So, that just sort of mirrors the development physically, like to the eye, and also all the new things that have come into place. And having the Raiders there means we get to play over at the new G, which I think will help recruiting a good deal.
Oh, tremendously.
Come down on the recruiting trip and see the Raiders symbols, like, we're in the same building, and the new upgrades they made to the facility itself on campus. But yeah, it's truly. The airport alone is another indication. Just insane how many flights a day are in and out of there, and every 10 seconds you're being taking off for landing. It's a busy town. So
what did they have? Did they have one runway when you were there, and maybe an outhouse on the side? I think. Right.
This is not a joke. My father worked for United back in the day. Worked at the SeaTac Airport up in Seattle. So I was able to fly for $3. First class was $6. So you'd wait and see which one the loads were on or not. And I had no possessions. I had like a suitcase full of my whole life was in one suitcase. So we would move out of one apartment and go home for the 6-week break or whatever. And I could walk to the airport, literally dragging my one suitcase. It was about 3 blocks. Just walk straight up to the counter and hand them the ticket, and there you go.
That's beautiful.
So all of it's bigger, and it's great. I mean, there's so much action. There's something for everybody.
Yeah, and
you go there and not gamble and have. I know people that say, I just went for the shoes and I went for the trip to Mount Charleston and Lake Mead and there's a million things to do. So yeah, it's taken off in a way that I didn't expect. Just these many years later, it's huge.
There's also a very, very underrated food market here. So there's some of the best restaurants in the world that exist in Vegas. People don't really know about, and 1.1 million people are visiting here a week at this point. Which sport do you think comes here first, Major League Baseball or the NBA?
I'd say NBA. If I'm just taking a wild guess, although I would like a team in Seattle before Las Vegas gets one if they're going to do expansion teams, if that's what you're saying.
Were you surprised?
Our team was unfairly taken away. It just didn't work out. The guy from Starbucks sold it to people who don't live in Seattle, and 2 years later, the team wasn't in Seattle. So that was a tough deal. If you want to know more, it's definitely a one-sided documentary, but I think it tells a lot of truth. It's called Sonic's Gate.
No, I did watch that. Kenny, I did watch that. It was fantastic. And, I worked in Seattle briefly, and I had a chance to interview Gary Payton out there. He refused to have his jersey retired in Oklahoma City. Yeah. He said when Seattle gets a team again. I also interviewed Detlef Schrempf. I've interviewed some great, and of course, Ray Allen went to UConn. I grew up in Connecticut. That was a fantastic Supersonics team, really, right before they left. Some great teams there that I believe George Karl was coaching. Yeah. A lot of history there. There's no doubt that Seattle deserves to have an NBA team again. They're going to get hockey. So, I mean, look, it's just a matter of time. So I agree with you, and I think Seattle gets an NBA team again probably before Las Vegas does. I want to ask you this. You have a passion for horse racing, obviously, and you do a great job covering it on ESPN. When did you place your first horse racing bet? That's what I want to know.
I believe I was 8 or 9 through an intermediary. It was either my mom or my uncle. No, we had a track called Long Acres, and it was like this legendary old track. It was built around the same time as Santa Anita. And early 30s, it was like, I think it was, honestly, it might have been a depression project. You know what I mean? Like there were a lot of big ticket, work projects all around the country, I think. And it might have been coincidental. But it was beautiful. I had Mount Rainier in the distance. Now we have Emery Downs, which is a little south of there. It's smaller. It's a fun place. It's a good track, but it's like, tearing down Dodger Stadium. And hey, we're just going to throw another one up down the road. You know what I mean? It can never have the same, because it doesn't have the same history, right?
Sure.
But I hated what has happened out there at Santa Anita. If you were going to get to that, just they need to figure out what's going on, because maybe the best thing they could have done is take a month off, bring in the experts, figure out what's going on. Is it the dirt itself? Are the horses more susceptible because they shouldn't be out yet training? Or, there's probably a variety of factors for all those injuries that have happened over the last year. But it was really hard, and it took away, some of my enthusiasm, obviously, for the sport, something I love. They can't, be jeopardizing the horses and have the numbers be what they were out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
In counter to that is, I think California is a pretty, what do you call it, where it's just wide open reporting. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure it's being reported in the same way elsewhere. I sure hope, it's not reflective of what's going on elsewhere. But I think the people in the sport, 100%, I would testify to this, the trainers, the jockeys, they love the horses. They do care for the horses. They want the very best
for
them.
I believe that. Yeah.
Something went amiss. I don't know what it is. Hopefully somebody smarter than I can get to the bottom of it and reduce this by a great degree.
Well, I got to tell you, Kenny, on my bucket list is going to the Kentucky Derby. So when I decide to do that, I'll be asking you for a few comp tickets.
Brian, you just want to wear one of those hats. Let's be honest.
That's the deal, right, JD? That's what it's all over.
It's all about the hats.
I do.
Breeders' Cup is my favorite event of the year. That's the 2-day World Championship.
That's a good one.
At the end of the year that rotates around. is it Santa Anita this time?
No doubt.
But
Yep.
it's amazing. You got Grade 1 horses from the whole world, and it's a great couple of days.
Oh, it's a great sport. The atmosphere is fantastic. Kenny, before we let you go, I want to talk to you a little bit about this foundation for vets you got going on. You're doing some wonderful things. Can you talk to us a little bit about runfreely.org and the great work that you are doing with this?
Well, I hinted at it earlier. I really did break my leg earlier in a certain game, middle of the season, might have been game 6 or 7, and last play of the game, somebody sticks their helmet on my ankle. So I was getting a fracture dislocation, tore every ligament and broke the outside bone. And I came back and I played the next year. Surprisingly, I didn't think I would come back. So that was the second year when Sam led the nation in passing yards, and we beat BYU that season. That was a big deal. Tony Knapp's final year. But all these years later, I've had 10 more surgeries, and it's not well. It's probably not going to get any better either. But it is what it is. Others have suffered worse, and I ended up getting really good advice to go see this guy who makes these braces. Then I found a different guy who makes like the Ferrari version of the braces. They like to call it a device. He's up in Gig Harbor, Washington. It's called an ExoSim, and I literally the first day that I put the thing on, I ran on the treadmill at 15 miles an hour, no pain. So it sounds like one of those ridiculous commercials you see at 3:30 in the morning when you wake up on your couch, but it's real. So Gretchen, that's my wife, and I decided to start a foundation. It's called Run Freely. You can go to runfreely.org on the internet and see what we're all about. Tells the story, shows the picture of me lying on the ground at Autzen Stadium way back when. And we've now, I'm forgetting, I got to look back at because I was preparing for this. I forgot if we're up to 14 or 15 veterans now.
Wow.
In just a little over a year. A couple of them have needed 2 of the devices, and most just need one. But the best story of them all, we had a lady came out of New Mexico. She was in a wheelchair coming up to Seattle, and she left walking through the airport on a brace. So
wow,
it's unbelievable the effect it's having on people's lives. In a couple of cases, they've gone actually back into the military. They were kind of like on the hold until they could prove that they could pass the physical. And many others just, they just want to be able to take a walk on the beach with their kid or get back into the workforce or whatever they needed the brace for. It's going to take away the pain and let them do things that they can't do otherwise. So
well, that's incredible. Kenny, that's
I just
incredible.
ran yesterday out here in Connecticut. So
wow.
I know it's working for me and it's working for others too.
I think it's awesome, Kenny, that you're using your platform for good of helping others. It's fantastic work that you're doing out there in Bristol, Connecticut, man. I grew up around there too.
Shapiro's neck of the woods.
That's right.
There,
That's right. Central Connecticut State University, hard-hitting New Britain, I believe Stuart Scott used to call it.
Yeah.
That's right. Kenny, thank you so much for your time, man. We really do appreciate it. You're a legend in this business and very well respected. And down the road, we'd love to have you on again sometime. Thank you so much for your time.
Good stuff, Kenny.
All right. Thanks for having me.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Ken.
That is SportsCenter. Wow, he was out of there in a hoot. SportsCenter anchor, former UNLV quarterback Kenny Mayne joining us on the show. We really do appreciate him taking some time to join us. Check out that website, runfreely.org. All right, so when we come back, this is a really bizarre story. Jim Montgomery, the head coach of the Dallas Stars, is fired. A very mysterious unprofessional act, they're calling it, but they're not saying what he did. We're going to try to break this down. Did he pull a Pee Wee Herman in public? I don't know what this guy did, but we're going to talk about it coming up next. And by the way, coming up in about 10 minutes, we'll be speaking with a writer in Oregon for Oregon Live. His name is James Crapia. He knows a little bit about this guy, Marcus Arroyo, that UNLV just hired as the head football coach. That and much more. Stay tuned. This is The Vegas Take.
Cox Business has fast, reliable internet and voice solutions. Call today and ask how you can get up to a $200 Cox Business Visa prepaid card when you switch. Call 1-800-297-2610. Card issued by MetaBank. Member FDIC. Terms and expiration apply.
SportsX Radio Nation, what's up? It's Ken Thompson, host of SportsX Radio, reminding you to catch me at my new time, 8 to 10 p.m. for all the local Vegas sports coverage, plus the national scene as well. That's SportsX Radio on the new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.
I'm Jack Weinstein of the Tower Jewels. For over 50 years, the Tower Jewels has provided Las Vegas with outstanding customer service and top quality jewelry. So come see us at the Tower Jewels today.
Visit Tower Jewels today for store-wide savings on rubies, diamonds, sapphires, and more, all up to 70% off at Tower Jewels. This holiday season, see our master designers and have that something special made for your someone special.
Up to 36 months, 0 down, no interest financing available.
Tower of Jewels, Santa Claus's manufacturing jeweler.
Hey, it's Lee Goldberg of the GCI guys at Realty One Group. Do you know anyone that's looking to buy a home, sell a home, rent, move from California? If so, give them my number, 702-902-3029. All listeners of the Vegas Take get $1,000 in your hand back at closing. Hometown heroes, veteran, military, police, teacher, nurse, I'm giving you $2,000 back. That also goes for hospitality and casino employees. Free use of a moving truck for a day, 6 free months of home security. Call me, 702-902-3029, the GCI guys.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. The world is changing. Isn't it time smoking changed too? Vuse Alto is a vapor product offering you a satisfying alternative to cigarettes. Simple to use, surprisingly quiet, and impressively powerful. Our best vapor yet at our best price ever, 99 cents, plus tax at participating retailers. 99-cent offer applies to Alto device. Pods sold separately. Underage sale prohibited.
Tuscany Suites and Casino is a place for locals to play in December. Tuscany is helping you with your holiday shopping with their Holiday Earn and Ship with Amazon Prime event. Starting December 3rd to December 14th, you can earn points playing your favorite slot machines and shop for gifts on the Tuscany Prime website. Plus, have gifts delivered to your home within 2 business days. For more information, visit the Tuscany Players Club for details. Tuscany Suites and Casino, 2 blocks east of the Strip at 255 East Flamingo, where parking is also free.
Meet me at the Tuscany. Looking for that perfect new piece of furniture for your home? A New Concept Furniture is the place to start and end your search. They'll beat any price on the internet, and they're here locally, so you can feel what you're buying first. Go to A New Concept Furniture today at 4255 South Grand Canyon to see for yourself the slick, modern, shiny store that mirrors our shiny city. A New Concept. Check out their showroom or call them at 702-570-2240. That's 702-570-2240.
Maybe it's time to take a fresh look at everything we thought we knew about landing a great job. For instance, what if phenomenal careers start at the middle school science fair instead of at the job fair? If being the captain of the robotics team means just as much on a college application as being captain of the football team. And if knowing the quadratic formula is every bit as important as knowing the right people. Well, the fact is, the jobs of the future will be heavily geared towards science, technology, engineering, and math. In other words, the future is STEM. More opportunities, better pay. And the road to these great jobs starts as early as middle school. So if you're a student, talk to your school counselor about STEM. If you're a parent, talk to your kids. Because the job you'll get in the future may very well depend on what you do today. A public service message from America's Navy.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 a.m. KDON.
Big, fat, disgusting fraud.
All right, nothing like a little Smashing Pumpkins to wake you up in the morning. Welcome back. It's the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro. Chris Wynn joining us in studio as well. This is a interesting story, a funny story, and a sad story all at the same time. So the Dallas Stars are a pretty good hockey club. They have a lot. I remember back in the day, I used to watch Mike Modano and those guys. The Stars have a lot of history. And Jim Montgomery was...
Well, I go back farther than you, Brian, where they were the Minnesota North Stars. So
I remember that as well. I was very young when that happened. Yep. But anyway, the Dallas Stars are 18-11-3, which is a pretty damn good record. And all of a sudden, they fire their head coach. And the reasoning behind it, a mysterious, unprofessional act. Now, I find that to be very bizarre, very weird. So I go on Twitter, and I put up a poll, and I think it's got like 200 votes now, if I'm not mistaken. And basically all it said was, why did Jim Montgomery get fired? What was the mysterious personal reason that Montgomery got fired? And I put 4 different options. One of them was, did he masturbate in public? Another one was, are you sleeping with ownership? Did you say something misogynistic or racist was another option? Right now, sleeping with ownership is leading the poll at, I believe, 52%. I've got over 200 votes on it. Masturbation, believe it or not, in public is second. I have no idea. I'm having a little fun with this. I have no idea why this guy was fired, but I will say this, and you guys tell me if you agree or not. When your team is 18-11 and you're fired for a mysterious, unprofessional act that the hockey club will not release, this had to be pretty egregious and pretty bad. Am I right, guys?
Well, I got to believe, right, that the details on this will absolutely come out probably sooner than later. It's not going to be, we're not going to need to speculate as to what it is. So,
no, we need to.
Being that we're speculating, could be, could be called irresponsible, right? If you're trying to figure out how somebody was, fired from their job.
Did he pull a Pee Wee Herman?
If it was,
did he whip
for
it out?
Egregious things like that.
Did he sexually harass somebody? Did he whip it out in public?
It could be a number of things, though, right?
Did he get a DUI? Oh no, if he got a DUI, that would have been public knowledge. So I don't think it's anything criminal. I'm assuming.
I think that him and Robert Kraft have similar massage habits.
I don't think so.
Well, if it was anything criminal, right? There'd be police report. There'd have been it'd be out already, right? We'd already know. It'd be like JD. It'd be like the Bill Belichick situation with the massage parlor.
Here's what I think happened.
The same thing.
Okay, I'm going to be serious.
They could be putting it under the rug.
Here's
trying to avoid that.
They're not trying
by just getting rid of the coach immediately.
They're not trying to. Clearly, they are.
Right.
They're not saying what happened. That's putting it under the rug. Here's what I think happened. In all seriousness, no, I don't think he whipped it out. Here's what I think he did. I think it had, and I'm just hypothetically speaking here. I'm trying to guess what this guy did. I think it could have been some sort of sexual harassment. It could have been something along those lines involving a woman. Easily could have been something along those lines that they want. They just said, that's it. You can't do that. Maybe he inappropriately touched somebody. I'm going to assume it was something so egregious like that, grabbed a woman's ass or did something inappropriate like that. I'm going to assume, and maybe they have it on video or something, that it's something like that, and it's so bad that there's no way they could defend it or just suspend him. They had to let him go.
Well, it's funny. It has to teeter a fine line, right? Between, you mentioned it can't be something illegal, so possibly it's not something illegal, yet it's still bad enough where you got to fire a coach who's 18-11, smack dab in the middle of the NHL season. So it wasn't nothing. We definitely know that.
Yep.
Apparently, up to this point, we don't know if there's any legal actions taking place or anything that he's done that could merit legal action. But, we'll obviously wait with bated breath to find out exactly what the details are regarding his dismissal.
Dallas Stars fans were very upset at me for putting that poll up. Did he get caught masturbating? Was it sexual harassment? They got angry. I said, go screw yourself. I can do whatever I want. But anyway, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, as you know, UNLV just hired a new football coach. They just made it official. It's Marcus Arroyo. James Crepea from the Oregonian on Oregon Live will be joining us. What do we know about this guy? We'll find out next on the Vegas Take.